Hey everyone, you're here with Josh Thomson, former Strikeforce Lightweight World Champion, and my co-host Sam Diggity. Go to iTunes for the full podcast. Also hit that subscribe button to be notified for new content. The Conor suspension to me was perfect. 6 months. I could have seen it maybe being equally to Khabib's of 9 months. Maybe Khabib's could have been a full year. I mean, you can give and take like a couple months. But let's be realistic. He's not going to fight till after Ramadan anyways on Khabib, so it doesn't really make a difference. I mean, by the time he gets through Ramadan and gets into a camp, it'll probably be about a year anyways. So they could have suspended him for a year and people would have been like, yeah, he got a fucking year. Yeah, he really wouldn't have made a difference because he's not going to fight till after Ramadan anyways. That being said, with the Conor thing, 6 months, I mean, it's fair. It's legit. I mean, I could have seen him getting the 9 months, maybe a little bit stiffer of a fine for contributing to being one of the guys. To me, when you go back and watch the video, he throws the first punch against Manap on the fence. Manap wasn't even really, he was up on the top of the fence. He shouldn't have been there. I understand the suspension for it. He shouldn't have been there. But, I mean, you got to understand how the Russians work with, and I call them the Russians. I mean, you guys got to remember, though, too, is I'm not going to be biased in this one here. I'm being very upfront with you, even though I do train with them. They are very close with me. We actually, talk and communicate quite a bit through, through FaceTime and things like that. But just to be clear, like he should have been up on the fence. He shouldn't have probably been part of it. But they are such a close-knit family. They believe in really, truly, being there for each other. It's not just a fucking hashtag, in Twitter and in IG that they actually they believe this. They if Khabib jumps in there, they're all jumping in there. If Manap jumps in there, they all jump in there. It doesn't make a difference. Zuba, does the same thing. So all these things being said, look, the suspension for Khabib, $500,000 to me was stiff, man. That's pretty stiff. I could have got behind, 250,000. I could have got behind that. I could have got behind the year suspension, but the only reason why I say I could have got behind that is because I know he's probably not going to fight till after Ramadan, which leaves you basically right back at a year.
9 months, not a year.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying though is that it could have been up to a year. And he's not going to fight anyways. 9 months puts him right around Ramadan, which means he's not fighting during that time anyways. So that being said, a year just would have made, to me, I would have been like, okay, cool, whatever, same thing.
But
and everyone would, huh?
If he does PSA, he can take 3 months off it.
Yeah, I don't think he will. Just my personal opinion. I mean, he really, I think in his the way he's been talking, that it's not really. He feels that the way that Dylan Dennis was talking to him and his teammates, that it was all it was all justified. And do I feel that Dylan kind of overstepped his boundary? Of course I do. And especially in this type of, I guess, in this climate of what's going on between Muslims and and
the rest of the world.
And the rest of the world, I think it's understandable to feel, I think, the way that Khabib probably, to me, it was justified of what he did. Because, look, even though, I'm trying to say this very, not delicately, but I'm trying to put it to where it makes sense. You have to, I look at it probably like, I think that it gets to a point when you continuously stereotype or categorize certain people into an area that they feel like that they need to stick up. No, they just need to stick up for themselves. And when they stick up for themselves, we say, "See, I told you." And knowing Khabib, knowing Zuba, knowing Abu Bakr and Islam and the other Islam and all the other Russians that come, I think that it's finally just it hit a boiling point. It's hit a boiling point that, as they get up closer to the top, which now Khabib is 27-0 and the lightweight world champion, it's come to a head where just people have continuously all the way up have just talked about him and the guys that, and his brothers and all the guys that he trains with and just Muslims in general. I think that he finally got to a boiling point. And when you get somebody like Conor, you get somebody like Dylan Dennis, they're going to say whatever it is they can say to get into your head. But what you have to remember is that different areas of the world take certain things like this kindly. And this is not just a job for them, and the things that you say to them is not just they're not just going to forget it, you know. Sure, it's freedom of speech. Sure, you should be able to say whatever you want to say to people, and they should be able to just shrug it off. But I think it'd be one thing if it's like, hey, it's me and you at school, and you say, yeah, you're an idiot, and I got to shrug that off. Or, you know, you call me something and you say something, that's different. But everywhere they go, everywhere that they walk, you know, around this world, people are like, oh, you're Muslim. And there's an automatic stereotype with that. And having to get through it, you know, look, I can't speak on that too much, but I just can say that having to get through it, I'm sure it gets taxing and it gets on you, you know, and it starts testing your patience, starts testing, you know, who you are. And I think this was the boiling point of all this. I think they're sick and I think, you know, he was obviously sick and tired of hearing Dylan Dennis's voice and the things he had to say along with Conor's. And look at the things that Conor said at the press conference. Now, we've heard with the commission that the commission is going to try to maybe regulate what they say, and it just isn't. It's insane, you know. Like, oh, now you're going to start saying that, you know, oh, I hurt your feelings. So now, I completely 100% agree with Dana White on this, you know. And if we can actually, can I hear what he said?
Yeah.
You can legally do that,
or fights and fights, I guess, in response to the McGregor and Khabib stuff. Just want to get your thoughts on that. Can they do that?
Nope.
I think it's crazy.
Yeah.
I think it's insane. I think it's unconstitutional, first of all. I don't think you can legally do that. These guys get into a cage and they punch each other in the face. They can knock each other unconscious. They can choke each other, but they can't say mean things to each other.
Makes perfect sense.
It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, I have to 100% agree with Dana. Like, it's going to be so hard to regulate. And then how are you going to regulate that?
Which words?
Yeah. Like, oh, you can't say the F word, or oh, you can't talk. What are you gonna say? You can't talk about religion. You can't talk about politics. You can't talk about someone's mother. What are you gonna? I mean, how are you gonna regulate it?
Yeah.
You're gonna say, and then look, emotions get flowing, and then when you get to the press conferences and people are talking trash, and you know, I mean, we saw it, I think, in the past with Kevin Lee and Michael Chiesa. I think there was talk or conversation about like his mom or something like that. And just it boiled over. And look, you're going to settle your differences in the cage. And that's what it comes down to. And, you know, and Khabib carried it over into the cage when he was fighting with Conor, you know, and he said, come on, let's talk. You know, you like to talk, let's talk. And, you know, and Conor's like, hey, it's business. And that's true. And to take to Conor's side, it's true. It's just business. But not everyone looks at it as business, and we saw that with Khabib. We saw that, you know, with the other guys that, you know, he trains with. Now, to get back to the punishments, I don't agree with Ariel Helwani at all. That their punishments should have been more. I don't agree with that at all. I think their punishments should have been basically the same as Khabib's, if not a little bit less. Let's not forget, if you go back and watch the video, Zuba circled around towards Conor. Conor threw the first punch against him. They actually kind of both threw punches together at the same time. It really comes down to, look, you're in my range, and you're not a nice person. You said all these things about me and my religion, and it's just funny how they both threw a punch at the same time. So if that's the case, and it wasn't like Zuba wasn't his corner. Zuba was his corner. It wasn't like he came from the stands and jumped up in there. You know, and Abu Bakr, the same thing, both in his corner. So it wasn't like as if they came from the stands and came down to fight. It wasn't that. They're there to be there for that's what corners are for. Now, this dude in the red, I have no idea, you know. I know who he is, but I'm saying, like, he didn't get suspended.
But he's not in the UFC, is he?
No, but neither is Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr is with the PFL. So if you're a fighter, a licensed fighter somewhere, and you know, then you'll get suspended, basically. So that once one commission, the state of Nevada, suspends him, other commissions will say, well, we're probably not going to license you either, especially like a state like Nevada. Nevada's a big state. Like if it was a small state of, say, like, let's just say Kansas, you know, or something that had a small commission. I don't even know if Kansas has a commission. That's, you know, but I'm saying, like, if it was something like that, yeah, they're going to be like, okay, well, what were you suspended for? And, you know, other commissions may not follow suit. But if when a state like when the commission like Las Vegas or California or New York or Chicago, or Illinois suspends you, then they're going to basically turn around and just honor those other states as well. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed that exclusive content of Sammy and the Punk. Also, hit these videos for more exclusive content and hit the subscribe button on the bottom corner.